The world's youngest nation. But peace is never permanent, and today, the very nation he helped bring forth stands on a knife's edge once more. This is the diplomatic and political journey of Kalonzo Musyoka, from the red soil of Tsekuru in Kitui County to the halls of power. His triumphs, his trials, and the legacy of a peacemaker. At the age of 30, Kalonzo, having just qualified as an advocate of the High Court, felt the burning call to be meaningful to his people, at a time when a generation of elders, including incumbent MP Philip Manandu, dominated and controlled parliament.
Kuanguka ni kitu kibaya sana. Nilianguka sio kuibiwa kura kama siku hizi, nilianguka venyewe. Kashindwa, kapata 10,000 zangu 3,166. Na aliyetushinda alipata 16,000.
He entered the race for the Kitui North parliamentary seat. It was a time of single-party dictatorship, and there was no room for new and youthful upstarts such as Kalonzo. After the devastating loss in 1983 snap general election, many would have declared they tried and failed. But Kalonzo's tenacity and confidence was strengthened. Many people wondered where it came from. Kalonzo's response was straightforward. I have faith in God, and I believe God will command a miracle. Kalonzo has always had a deep faith in God, which was shaped at birth and sculpted during childhood. He begins each day with scripture and closes with a prayer of thanksgiving. Kalonzo especially enjoys St. Paul's 2 letters to his younger companion and student, Timothy. Fight the good faith. Take hold of the eternal life to which you are called when you made your good confession in the presence of many witnesses, wrote St. Paul to Timothy in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 12. This solid and unwavering confidence in God led to his second attempt at the Kitui North seat on April 10, 1985, when a by-election was called following the tragic death of Honorable Manandu. The Weekly Review, then Kenya's leading political news magazine, was to write, age was no hindrance to the youthful lawyer, whose meteoric political rise must have been a source of envy for many veteran politicians. His career witnessed one piece of good fortune after another. From being a backbencher to being appointed by President Daniel Arap Moi as Assistant Minister for Works, Housing and Physical Planning in 1986, to being elected the youngest Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly in 1988 at the age of 35 years, the youngest MP in Kenya's post-independence history to hold such a post, Kalonzo's political career was one to follow, whether from the front benches or from the outside.
Naapa kwamba nitaitumikia vema
And we also have Karua, she's here with us. We have Honorable Eugene Wamalwa is here with us. Honorable Dr. Mukisa Kitui is here with us. Honorable Justin Muturi is here with us. And Honorable Mithika Rinduri. And all those have been ministers in the Republic of Kenya. We have many friends of His Excellency who are here. We have we have His Eminence, the Most Reverend Macarius, with the 3 persons accompanying him, and many other visitors whom we introduce as we go along. I want at this point in time to invite Eugene Wamalwa to make very brief remarks, and invite Dr. Mukisa Kitui, who will be able to give some remarks.
Thank you very much, Excellencies, for making time to be here with us. Mine is not to make remarks, but just to introduce our team that has accompanied His Excellency Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. And I think I'll start by thank you very much. Let me start by recognizing the team that has come with His Excellency and his core principles. Our coalition has 2 senior Kenyans. One is Kalonzo Musyoka himself, who was the 10th Vice President of the Republic of Kenya, and a diplomat whose career we celebrate today. We do also have the 2nd Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua. I think he'll be joining us shortly. We also do have present the former Minister for Justice, Martha Karua, and I will be requesting her to say a word on behalf of our team. Mine was to introduce, not to say a word. And we do have also in our team the former Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi. He's here with us. He was also the Attorney General of the Republic. And you would remember, Your Excellency, is the famous or the infamous story of abduction of a senior member of cabinet. The gentleman who is with us here today was indeed the Honorable the Attorney General of the Republic when his son was abducted. He might not have the time to tell the story, but we all do know his story, that probably if he wasn't an eminent person in this republic, maybe his son would not have recovered from that trauma, like many other young Kenyans we lost. He was also the Minister for Public Service, immediate outgoing minister. We also have the Honorable Linturi, the outgoing Minister for Agriculture, who is here with us. We also have, and I will be requesting Martha Karua to come and say a word. Many senators and governors and members of parliament who are here with us. And we want to hear this great story of a young man who came from a village in Sekuru and who walked to the pinnacle of diplomacy and made history that we have just witnessed tonight at a time when our country actually is facing a diplomatic disaster. Looking at his history and what he did in Sudan, in South Sudan, and DRC and other parts of the world, we will be hearing his story tonight at a time when we have a leadership that has become like a bull in the China shop. We do hope that this team one day will be privileged enough to put Humpty Dumpty back on the wall. May I invite the Honorable Martha Karua to say a word on behalf of our team, and to invite the Honorable Mukisa Kitui, who is a renowned diplomat, who was the Minister for Trade in the Kibaki government, and who also became the UN UNCTAD Secretary General, and he served for 2 terms As Kenya, we missed the chance to lead the AU in the recent elections, but we do have amongst us tonight one Kenyan who succeeded in leading the UN in matters, international trade and others. We would be requesting him to say a word and invite his fellow diplomat, His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka. Martha, karibu.
Good evening, everyone. We are all here, Excellencies, distinguished guests. We are here as acquaintances or friends of His Excellency, Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. I have worked with him for a long time. Maybe he may or may not remember, but I've reminded him once or twice when I was a young magistrate before the age of 30, and he was a young lawyer. He did appear before me. You don't always remember people who appear before you, but I noticed the way he handled the case and his clients, and he led them, because it was a case that people could reconcile. He led them to reconciliation. Maybe that's a trait in diplomacy. And later on in life, I met him as a member of parliament. I found him in parliament in 1993. For the young ones, that may sound like a long time, and it is. We've been around. So, and we've worked with him since. He's an easy person to work with, amiable, respectful, a diplomat to the core. And even though we were on the opposing side of both days, he was a minister in the current government, I was a member of the opposition, and we still were able to relate. I do recall when we started the formal journey to the constitutional review process. It is His Excellency, Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, who was able to lead the KANU team to negotiate with us and to address us in a manner that we could actually sit down and negotiate. You may not remember that, but that was the Bomas and Safari Park process. We have later worked closely on the same side. In 2002, when we came into government, where he became the Minister for Home Affairs at one stage, and I was Minister for Water at that time. We have worked well, and I know he's a people person and a great team member, team player. We've also worked together in opposition when we were both out of government for the last 12 years. We have worked together, and more lately, in the 2022 presidential elections, we worked very closely. And after whatever transpired, we have continued to work together. And now we are together forming a broad coalition to transform the country. I would just want to conclude by saying that Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka is not just a diplomat because he has worked as one. He's a born diplomat, a great person to work with, and a person who is open and transparent in his work. And with those very many remarks, I want to call my friend, age mate, Dr. Mohisa Kitui, former Secretary General of UNCTAD, and a person who was a colleague minister. We were in college together, then in parliament together, then in government together, and now working together in the opposition. Yeah.
Asante sana. Your Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, friends of Kenya, Your Excellencies and honorable leaders of political parties, other friends of Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, ladies and gentlemen. Nice things have already been said about our host, and I'm not going to repeat those. I just want to say one or two little things that don't so much mark what he did, but why we miss such talent in public leadership in the country today. The first 10 years of my acquaintance with Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, he was a Minister of Government, and I was an opposition parliamentarian. The highest point of our altercations was during the crisis, the genocide in Rwanda, when I brought to Parliament a motion of adjournment to discuss the failure of African diplomacy and the failure of the world to stop the butcher of innocent civilians in that then sad place. Since then, we even got very, very closely together, because after the 2002 elections, I became Minister of Trade and Industry and was Foreign Minister. We were both members of Council of the East African Community. So for a very, very intense 3-4 years, we were intimately involved in negotiation of a common market, the customs union and common market for East Africa. I remember we were spending sleepless nights with Jakaya Kikwete and the Deputy Prime Minister of Uganda to beat the deadline, because there was that drive and desire for East African integration. But beyond that, he's known as Mr. Peace Builder for his work not just in Sudan, but also the Mbagathi process for peace building in Somalia. We mention these things not so much as a celebration of an icon of diplomacy, but as a sharp contrast to the sad situation in which we find ourselves today. Unfortunately, egos and guns have been bigger in supply than brains in South Sudan, and you see how the promise of the youngest African country has turned into disaster. Peace from South Sudan and the poorest victims of those that give up in our country. Similarly, Sudan unravels as Khartoum becomes a no-go area. It pains those of us who have associated with peace building to know that we have a president who, sheerly for personal interest in bloody gold, is dragging Kenya into a crisis that's not our own. And he brings people to this territory to try to form a so-called shadow government, when those people have gained their reputation for slaughtering black people in Darfur and Zagawa. It's a disgrace that could never happen if Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka had his way, had a say in how Kenya runs its diplomacy. Similarly, we are passing through difficult times. Today, as I was coming here, I heard the announcement of the Franco-German defense agreement. The first time that Europe has had to look at building a new architecture for defense because of rumbles across the Atlantic. It's a difficult times. But for us, we believe that friends of Kenya will still have the attention to support our democratic project. They could still stand with the efforts of people like Kalonzo Musyoka. Traditionally, the struggle for Kenya's democracy has been watered by the principled statement of the diplomatic community that we stand for what is good for the country, without fear of intimidation, without being blackmailed, without pretending to hail a king as having the best clothes when you consider the king is naked. Sorry, it's not my day. I just want to say, we contrast what we have heard and what is existing in the Kenyan gene pool and the inadequate capacity, competence, and execution of diplomatic duty that we witness in our country today. I am proud to be associated with Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, and thank you very much for making us share this important day in your life. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Your Excellencies, the ambassadors, high commissioners, and our distinguished guests, yes, allow me to acknowledge two people. We have the ambassador of Cyprus with us here, and also the senator for Kisii County, Senator Onyonga. I will now, it's now my humble pleasure to invite the Wiper Democratic Movement Chairman, Andrew Sunguli. Sunguli has been a close friend of His Excellency Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. They have been together in politics together, and he wants to make a few remarks.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I happen not to have the kind of credentials that have been read out here. Actually, my only political credential is that I was the running mate to Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka